Hello and welcome to Game Warp. My name is Elwood Jones, and as always, I'm joined by my partner in crime, Miss Kim Lowe.
Hello, how is everything going?
It's good, and how's things for yourself on your side of the channel?
I am freezing over here. Temperature dropped like crazy. I
I
just felt
know.
like we should talk about that since we always talk about our weather. It's
Yeah, yeah. I think we held off on putting the heating on for like the longest time, and then the last couple of days we've had to kind of relent. It sort of got to the point where it was just like we're just sitting around in like four jumpers, and it's like maybe we should put the heating on about now. So
it's just only October. We shouldn't be doing this, you know?
I know. And you should just be grateful that you aren't having to like face with the prospect of taking kids out trick or treating at the end of the month. So, but
Well, yeah, I guess. But, we do have our game today, and
yes,
it is Costume Quest 2, and we did our own trick-or-treating in our own way.
yeah, Costume Quest 2. It's the sequel to the 2010 original, created by Double Fine's lead animator and former Pixar artist Tasha Harris. And the game itself, it draws inspiration from the likes of Dragon Quest, Final Fantasy, and Earthbound, where, as with the first game, you play a pair of fraternal twins known as Wren and Reynold. And basically, them and their friends are out to save Halloween from the evil dentist, Dr. Orel White, who this time has teamed up with a powerful time wizard to basically eliminate the holiday of Halloween, because obviously being a dentist and the Halloween being all about candy, it's not something that he's down with. So with this game, we actually go back in time. We see Dr. Oreo White as a child, and we kind of learn why he wants to destroy Halloween, and we go into the future as well. Yeah, this is a game which combines, as we said, elements of Final Fantasy in a very unique and sort of almost Scott Pilgrim-esque animated style. Opening thoughts on this one, Kim, because obviously we picked this one because we wanted to go against the grain and where everyone else is going to do like Silent Hill or Resident Evil, like a traditional scary Halloween game. We decided to go kind of a cutesy route with this year's feature game for Halloween. So, what was your sort of opening thoughts on Costume Quest 2?
Well, definitely it was cute. It was lighthearted. There's like little silly jokes in between. And honestly, out of all those titles you talked about, I didn't really play a lot of those RPGs, but I remember this one reminding me a lot, especially the combat style. It reminded me a lot of Mario and Luigi Partners in Time, or any of the Mario and Luigi's on DS. And they actually have that same sort of combat system where the moment your character has to time the jumps to hit properly, and then to kind of like time it properly to also defend or that sort of thing. And I like that system a lot. I think that that sort of turn-based combat is really fun to use. Plus, on top of this, this one has this really nice twist of Halloween where, you're in a world where you're banned from costumes, but at the same time, you get to choose, you get to unlock all these costumes as you find the pieces. And all these different costumes give you this magical ability of turning into that character and having these special attacks, these combo attacks. And they're all really fun to watch the animation of. And they're all like effective in their own way. And I really like that whole idea, especially because they also add like, I didn't use it as much, but they also had like multifaceted ways of fighting. You also had your cards that you needed to use that you could deal hit points and heal or whatever.
Yeah.
I think that this game is really unique. I mean, both of us, I think we can say we didn't play Costume Quest 1, right? The original.
No, we kind of stumbled into Costume Quest 2. It came up as a free game for as part of the Xbox Games with Gold, and when it sort of came up, it was sort of like this was sort of the game straight away we knew we wanted to do for Halloween, because as we mentioned already, it's a game set at Halloween. It's not your traditional Halloween game in the fact that it's not scary in the slightest, and it's based around, good-natured costume and candy grabbing, which, kind of sounded like a fun game. Certainly looking at, as we said, the fight mechanics, it has those elements of Final Fantasy there, but the idea of you using different costumes to have different powers, and oh, this seemed like a really fun idea. I'm gonna really just gonna apologize in advance because I'm probably gonna come off as kind of like the Halloween Grinch in this one because I did not get this game at all. I was so excited going into this game, and then it would just slowly beat me down the longer we sort of played this one. So I think I'm gonna probably be the voice of negativity on this one. So I do apologize in advance. But as we mentioned already, the costume quest, it's all turn based, and in here we encounter the first of the major problems with the game in that it's very repetitive, the turn based, in that each character will be assigned a button on your pad. So, say for example, your first character will be assigned the X button, so you have to time your button presses for the X button with that character, while your other character will be assigned like the Y button. And the game forces you to constantly time the button presses so that you hit at the last minute and get that maximum hit damage. And as it goes on, you build up combos so you can get the two attacks. But each time, looking at the points being deducted, it never seemed to make much of a difference if you got an excellent attack or a poor attack. There seemed to be no difference, and the actual combat system just became so painfully repetitive in that you just felt kind of like a monkey pressing buttons in some lab somewhere. There was no variation in the combat. It's just every battle seemed to be the same. Perhaps you'll get to face like a slightly different villain and they throw some different attacks at you, but every attack you're doing is going to be essentially the same unless you're mixing it up with like the cards or by using different costumes.
Because I get where you're coming from. I'm not gonna be the voice of negativity because I think that I forgive this game mainly because it has to be simple because it is geared towards children, and we are way past that. We are children at heart, But I feel that like still this is really simple. It's a very casual game. You go in and it's really just to have fun. It's really like it is very repetitive. I think that as we were playing this game, I mentioned that this podcast is going to go very, very similarly to Song of the Deep, except that instead of having bosses come up all the time, this is an RPG, so you really want to level up. You want to get into battles, but at the same time, you're also at a certain point near the end. I started being really, really reluctant, especially when spoiler alert, you get to unlock a ghost costume. And when you unlock the ghost costume, you can actually be stealth, and you can hide all three characters and go past certain areas, and you get to avoid the enemies and you don't have to fight them unless necessary that you need to get an item and you need to fight them in order to get access. And that is a really, really good addition because at this point of the game, you're nearing the last probably 10%, and it feels at this point you're tired. You're tired of all the fighting, you're tired of all the repetition. And it really, really helps with the fact that now I can avoid certain things. But at the end, you also realize that with what you've had in the first part of the game, the first you got your first hit, and then you got your combo attacks that you have to go back and learn from this storky samurai dude, ninja dude, and then
Crow.
Yeah, that's it, Samurai Crow. And you got the Samurai Crow, and he teaches you these abilities. So you have the combo attacks, and then you learn about timing your defense right, which I used about twice when I hit the bosses, and there's only like 2 bosses in this. And for the first boss, you didn't even have this ability. And then, I don't know if you got the unlock, but I didn't go back and unlock the final move that I got. So I don't even know what that is. But it wasn't necessary for me to beat the game. And I think that that's a pity because when you make a game, you want people to need to go back and do that. And so that you actually access the full potential of your character and you have more range of what you're doing. It adds a bit of difference. So I don't know. I mean, that's really my main thing is a lot of repetition, a lot of getting used to. And I guess that goes back to not even the combat. Even when you talk about different areas you go through, you have the quests. And these quests from your first area neighborhood to when you move to the past, it's trick-or-treating through the doors and getting whatever items. You go to the second area and it's like there's an east and west side of this future where you have to do things as well. This is like a dystopian future where Halloween is, Dr.
White.
Orel White. His plan has worked, and you have to do the same thing. You're just getting something different, and you have to go trick or treating through the doors again. And some of them are enemies, and some of them are actual people that you need to accomplish with that. And there's all these quests, and every single area you go to is the same thing. And it's this repetition that really burns you down because you want to do the side quests. But at a certain point, you're just kind of like, well, at the last part, I was just like, forget it. I just want to finish this game. I don't know if you felt the same way.
Yeah, the quests are very repetitive. At the same time, it's these moments where we're wandering around the world, which are the game is its most enjoyable. Certainly, the interaction, the colourful characters that you meet. I mean, there's a section when the first world you enter, which is the past world, should we say, and you have to get into the game's version of The Devil Went Down to Georgia, where you enter into a competition with this kid dressed as the devil, and he plays the fiddle, and you have to play the clown horn in a duel with him. And it's so fantastically funny, the fact that you have the clown horn, which has no musical ability whatsoever, yet you engage in constantly these musical challenges with this horn, and you can press it any number of ways you can to try and make it sound as musical as you want, but at the end of the day, it's a clown horn. It really only makes about 3 sounds. So that was really fun to do, and these characters that you meet, and I really liked those sort of aspects. But it was like whenever we got into like combat, or if you're doing the trick or treating sections, you kind of like every door seemed to have a villain beside it, and you were just so relieved when it was actually someone who gave you candy, because it meant, oh, I'm not going to end up in another battle sequence. I probably did myself a disservice because, as we've mentioned already, each costume you collect has a different power. Now, one of the achievements in the game is that you have to use the candy corn costume in every battle. The twist, obviously, being with the candy corn costume is that the character wearing it can do nothing. He just sits there and makes smart-ass comments in the battle. So essentially, while you enter into every battle with 3 characters, you can only fight with 2 of these characters. And every battle you have to go in with this candy corn costume. And it is the most frustrating. It's how to make an already frustrating combat system even more frustrating. And I think the only reason I stuck with it is because I knew in the back of my mind that once I beat this game, I probably am not going to come back to it. Certainly, I'm not going to do it a second time just so I can play for it and have this one character who does naff all for the whole game, apart from make funny asides. And this again just provides a real hindrance to yourself, because within your party, you obviously, within the same as in any sort of roleplay game, you have certain characters that you want to have represent. So you want to have your healer, and then you want to obviously have your damage dealer. Now, normally, if you were playing this game without the limitations, your third character you could have as like the pterodactyl, who obviously has draining ability. You could have him play as Jefferson, who's like a real powerhouse there, sort of the nuke character as the game describes him as, and you could rack up the damage points that way and keep the clown as your healer. By having these 2 characters, you essentially have one character does all the damage while your clown basically gets damaged enough so he can trigger his healing ability. And while the animations for each of the characters' special abilities that are fun for the first couple of times you see them, normally about the 6th or 7th time you're kind of bored, and you normally hit that skip button just so you can get for it a bit quicker. But I like the fact that, as we said, the costumes all come with their own abilities. The clown costume obviously has the ability to honk a clown horn. The Egyptian costume has like a little crook that you can use as a zip line. The Jefferson costume allows you to negotiate with different characters, which I must have spent an hour wandering around the future level, wondering why no one would let me into anything, until I realized that you can use the Jefferson costume just to negotiate them to move out your way. I have to also say thank you as well to one of the guys who followed my Twitch stream when we were running it, because he highlighted the fact that you have to use the pterodactyl costume to move the leaves out of your way, which, again, the game gives you no details on what the special abilities of your costume does. You only get the briefest sort of details in like the equipped costume section. So it's kind of confusing at times. You hit what feels like a wall, and it just turns out no, you need to use the costume's special ability to sort of get on to the next bit or to open up an area. So um, yeah, it was obviously a bit of a thrill, finding the different costumes and playing around with those. But it just constantly came back to that combat system, and it just annoyed me. And the fact we constantly seem to be fighting the same enemies, like all the time. You go into an area and you'll just be fighting the same villains over and over again until you move to a different area, and then perhaps you'll get to fight something a bit more interesting, like a giant snail or a giant mole or something like that, to sort of break up the repetition slightly. And that was one of the few occasions when the combat was actually interesting for myself. The rest of the time, it just became painfully repetitive. So
I think that what I like a lot about it is that the world building they've created and the story is pretty enchanting and pretty charming. It's pretty simple. You kind of have a good idea of what's going to happen. But then, I mean, you think about it as a kid, if I was playing this with like a young child, they would have a lot of fun with it. They would think this is absolutely adorable. Like this is it's like the worlds itself are pretty interesting. You have to find different ways to go through. You are right. The special abilities were, I eventually figured out that you needed to use it. I just never, like the Jefferson one was definitely my hurdle. I mean, if anyone was on my stream, and actually they're actually on my YouTube channel, my own personal YouTube channel, you can see that I actually walked around that world like 2 times, and I just could not figure it out until I went back to this girl at the bar and this like tavern thing. And I did this. I tried it out with her. I started figuring this thing. I was just pressing that button, that special ability with everybody I saw, and eventually got through. And I finally figured it out. But I mean, as the game goes through, the world gets more interesting. There's the futuristic world, especially. Like you have to go through these people, and then people are just sending you on these errands, which are different and specific. And they're very, very like, you need to do this. And I love that aspect of these. I guess it's what you called in the beginning. They're very colorful characters.
yeah,
They all have like very distinct characteristics in what they do and just the roles they hold. And actually, if you think about it, a lot of the characters are actually related to pop culture or movies or something like that. Maybe not Jefferson or anything, but like, the wizard is very similar to say like Gandalf or whatever. The clown, I really didn't like the clown costume. I never used it very often. I found that certain costumes were great because you could time the attack really well. The clown costume was one which I hated because I couldn't figure out the timing of it right. It always had like this delay. And I mean, in terms of my favorite costume, I had to give that one to the hot dog costume that is very near the end, like it's one of the later areas. And it is kind of like, if you think about it, it's kind of like when you have the costume on, it's kind of spoiler, I guess, but it's like a three-headed dog. And it has a multi-attack. So when you attack one person, it actually flows to the other two. And that is so effective because that makes your at that point, your enemies are getting more hit points and you have leveled up, but this actually helps you along the way a lot. So I guess it's like pro and con for me. I see a charm with the game, but at the same time, there are so many things that, I want to nitpick, and yet I don't have the heart to do it just because I know that the target audience is so clear. It's not like, you're playing Song of the Deep or you're playing like Limbo or Inside or something. Those are not distinct. You don't know who are you targeting, right? But for Costume Quest, you know they're targeting a younger audience. They're probably targeting families. They're probably targeting like just younger children, like maybe like, I don't know, 10, 12 years old or something like that, who has the ability to play an RPG, a simple RPG, but it's kind of like an introduction to the gaming world.
yeah, I can understand that. It's certainly a nice entry level for like RPG games. There's nothing too horrific that you're going to encounter here. There's enough colourful elements there so that it appeals to different age groups. I wouldn't say it's necessarily a game for small children. I would hate to think how kids would obviously figure out some of these puzzles that have obviously been put up. Because I mean, if it's stumping ourselves, then imagine the frustration to a 12-year-old. I mean, they just gonna bug their parents to do it for them. I
Yeah, but I
don't
mean,
know.
But to me, what I think, like, I'm not a parent, okay? You're probably more experienced in this territory than I am. But I mean, he's shaking his head frantically because you all can't see it. But the thing is, like, what I feel is that a lot of time gaming is like that. That's how you kind of bond, that you're going to ask your parents to help you. But at the same time, if you think about it, we are always, as adults, overthinking everything.
Yeah.
And it's just like Limbo or Inside, some of the puzzles were really simple, and we would overthink that it would be harder than it actually is, or sometimes it is actually harder, but in that case. But in this one, many times it's like, why would you not think of that? A pterodactyl wing, when you flap it, it's going to get leaves out of the way. If you go to some place and someone's not letting you do it because of something, well, and you shake hands and negotiate with them, they're going to let you through. That would be simple. That would be kind of like a straightforward way to deal with something. In our minds, we're like, well, that person is just going to be like, hey, I understand this, but, do a negotiating. And this person is going to say yes. We never think that because our minds are more complicated than what children would be thinking.
I appreciate the hoodlum element, the fact that, as with the Lego games, everything has got to be smashed and hit. So you basically go down to these houses, mailboxes, trash cans, and you're constantly smashing the seven shades out of them in search of more candy. And I love the fact that the game's worlds all do tie together. So there's a character we meet as a child in the past, and you do a deal with him where if you give him 20 candies in the past, he will sign you into his land deal. And then you meet him as an adult in the future, and he pays you in candy. Like, he gives you like 1,000 candy in return just because you made that deal. And there's the jazz musician who you speak to in the past, and you meet him in the future, and he's like reminiscing about this clown who played this real mean clown horn. So there's lots of fun little jokes like that. I love the skeleton baseball player that you encounter, who basically lends you the riverboat to go meet these witches in one of the levels. I think that's my Halloween costume sorted for this year. And I wish it was a costume you could play as in the game, because I think it was just one of my favorites, but sadly it was not to be. Yeah, the side quests certainly held my interest a lot more than possibly the main quest. I think I spent a lot more time, such as going around trying to find the kids who are trick-or-treating, or doing the hunt for the beast, where you have to use the wizard glow stick to act as like a black light to track to these paw prints. But
and that was a good payoff too. Those paw prints were really good payoff. Like I like that whole the paw prints led you to another costume, another kid that gives you a costume. And it's a werewolf one, which is exactly, he's like a mini version. They designed him to be like a mini version of Wolverine. And it is so adorable. Like, I just find all these like pop culture things that you can link to, and it's so fun. Like, I honestly, I love the side quests. I spent a lot of time, and I actually did all the side quests except for one where I was missing one kid at the end. And that was just because I really wanted to finish the game at that point, and I felt like, at that point, I've been grinding at this game for 10 hours, and I've been playing till like every night for like 2-3 hours till like the AMs. And at that point, it was just like I wanted to finish it that morning, and it was a goal I had. It does promote exploration of the city, of the world that they've built. And I really, really like that aspect, like the whole quest aspect. And, at a certain, like, I just think this game's really charming. Like, I don't think there's a lot to hash out, like other games. It's just very straightforward, very simple. Obviously, this is going to be childish for a lot more expert gamers, I think. This is not a game they're going to go and seek out and have fun, This is a kind of like, it's a decent-sized game. It's about 10 hours long if you do everything. Most of the time, actually, I feel that the side quest is not really going out of the way, because you do have to explore the world to progress in your quest a lot of times and talk to different people. And the side quest just gives you an extra motivation to talk to more people and meet more of these characters. And I like the point that you made about the connection of the past and the future and the present, which they eventually go to. And I think that That's just adorable. I love it so much.
Yeah, I think for the hardcore gamer, I think this is, if anything, this is a distraction. This is something to play between games rather than, or if you're taking a break from your sort of main title at the moment, it's that sort of game. Um, I mean, I was playing in like 2 hour blocks, and I think by the end of those 2 hour blocks, I was kind of a bit burnt out. So it's not, for myself at least, it wasn't the sort of game that I could sort of binge. Maybe if I had was playing it with other people, and had some sort of outside distraction, it wouldn't have been such a grind. Or yeah, I mean, there's parts of the game I really enjoyed, and at the same time, there's parts I really didn't enjoy. It sort of falls somewhere in the middle there, and I kind of wish that when we were doing this review that I had like a flowchart just so you could see the moment where it pretty much crashed out for myself. I think, as you mentioned already, it falls into that same sort of issues that we experienced with Song of the Deep, where yes, it's fun to explore this world and there's lots of interesting things going on, but we're at the same time falling into this pattern and repetition that's ultimately taken away from the game. Perhaps if you're a younger gamer, this is going to be less evident, and it'd be easier to lose yourself within this world. And certainly, it's kind of nice in a way to see, especially with a modern game, a game that's specifically designed with a child-friendly environment, but at the same time isn't belittling to its audience. Normally, if you have a kids game, it sort of really dumbs it down at the same time. But even if you're playing this as an adult, you can still get some enjoyment out of this, as it plays to its audience very well. So if you're playing as an adult, you're probably going to be more tactical with the characters, the costumes you're using, the cards you're choosing to field as well, and it plays well in that respect. Or if you can just play it sort of like from a child's perspective, where you just sort of go along with what you like the look of. So,
What
but
was your favorite
yeah,
costume?
as I said, my favorite costume I couldn't use, but I think of the ones that we had. I really like the pterodactyl, even though it's pretty naff in combat. I love the special in the fact that you put on a pair of flying goggles just to drop an egg on your opponent. I thought that was pretty cool. The wizard, again, is pretty great, and I love the fact that when you go into battle, because obviously they're going around in these cute little costumes, and you enter into battle, and they sort of morph into whatever costume they're wearing. So if you're the candy corn, they just turn into a giant candy corn. And I'm kind of tempted to say that is one of my favorites as well. The fact, even though it does naff all,
But
I,
he's entertaining. I have to say that. Like I very different from you is that I got rid of the candy corn costume immediately. The moment I got a costume, a fourth costume, I got rid of it right away.
yeah,
One, I didn't know about the achievement, and two, I probably will go back to play it later on in my life. Not right now, not immediately, but like when I need kind of like just a lighthearted little game to slowly go through and see what other achievements there are to accomplish, or maybe even just go and explore the things I missed this time. Like that character's so charming. Like whoever wears that costume is like, oh, he's off for the day or he's whatever. You know, there's these like cute little dialogues that just are absolutely adorable,
yeah,
and I totally love it. Like I said, I mean, I personally I thought the wizard costume was really good. My favorite was obviously the hot dog. He was just powerful and fun. Egyptian one was good too.
yeah. The pharaoh.
Yeah, the Pharaoh one. That one's good too. That one has a healing power. So she's really good as a healer in this, you know,
Oh yeah, 'cause
and
you
that
can
makes it
resurrect
really
him.
good. And I mean, Jefferson is a powerhouse. His special move is the most entertaining to watch though, because his special move is like he's scripting down like I don't know, Constitution or a contract or something, and
Yeah,
he tosses the scroll over, and then you see the villain put on a pair of glasses to look at it, and then it like attacks him with a script, and I just find that so entertaining. Like all these things add to this game a lot, you know, and I think that that's the main point of it is despite a lot of what it is, and that's going to make it hard in the end to give it like a score, which we probably should be doing around now. Do you think we're ready to give a score right now, or do you have something else to say?
I think the only thing else I've have mentioned already is the fact that the power ups that you can get for your costumes, because as the game
Right.
obviously goes on, like any good RPG, you can buy power ups. In this case, from a creepy guy in a trench coat. So make of that what you will. And yeah, you can buy power-ups for all the costumes, and they're
And he's called
all
Shady.
yeah, and all the power-ups are basically as though you were like adding on to a costume like in real life, so like real craft projects. So you can paint a brown stripe on the candy corn to make him increase his defense ability, which at the end of the day is the only thing he can do, so you can make him slightly tougher. And if you're playing through with the candy corn in every battle, it kind of makes a difference. And you can obviously adjust, you can add on to your more useful characters that way, which I thought was a really nice touch. And you can buy different cards. I love the fact that as well, there's characters you will meet who will want to swap. If you get a double of a card,
Yeah.
they will want to swap it with you, like it's a trading card. That's fun, I guess, even though they don't clearly do anything with these cards. But I think that's about it. I mean, anything your side?
No, actually, you made a really good point about the power-ups. I think that it's original in its own way. The trading cards are a great touch. I think that they have a lot to this game, a lot more than really is necessary. Especially in the case of trading cards, because I actually used it like twice, maybe twice or three times when I really needed to get healed. But other than that, I never really used it, and they had a lot, so I didn't really want to spend the money for it unless I felt like I really like. Your money is candy, so
Yeah.
it's not. You can find it like when you re-enter into a world or you exit a game and go back in. That world replenishes the candy, so you can go back and kick your garbage cans and trash cans and recycle bins and all that stuff and get all your candy back or mailboxes and all that stuff. So that's a really nifty thing. I find that this game is not aiming to be frustrating, you know? If I were to give it a rating, I'd say I'd give it maybe the same as Song of the Deep. I'd give it a 3.5. Leaning very, very close to a 4. Like I'm leaning into a 4. The 3.5 is really because the game has the repetition issue. For my age group, and as I've been playing a little bit more games, I feel that the repetition gets to you a little much. And as you get to the higher level enemies, the combats become super repetitive. And there is some strategy required, but sometimes it's as simple as just being able to time yourself right, using the right power ups and making sure you always have a good balance of characters from healers to everything else like that, you know, and to someone who can deal a lot of damage. And I think that's the main thing. There isn't a lot, but there is so much charm to it, you know, and that's it's one of the things where I was hesitant as well. Like, I really wanted to give it a 4, but I can't because I feel like just for me, I can't. Like, I think as if I was younger and this was like one of the earlier games I played, I would definitely be able to give it a 4, hands down. It was fun. It was lighthearted. It was a really good break for me. Just because we were doing Limbo and Inside, and those were incredibly dark games. This is like a simple, straightforward game. You don't have to think a lot.
Hmm.
There's not like a question to the ending. You don't have anything, like theories to discuss about like last time. It's just a ton of fun, and it's really entertaining and lighthearted, and that is exactly what you should be doing when you want to go play Costume Quest. And it would be one of the games I definitely recommend.
For myself, I'm going to give it 3. I'm going to give it 3 candy corns out of 5. Um, yeah, the repetition in this game just beat me down like so bad. Kind of like Songs of the Deep. I'm kind of torn between which is worse for its repetition, Song of the Deep or this game. At least with this game, it didn't feel like we're having to like go miles between areas. The areas in Costume Quest 2 are very self-contained. They're very easy to move around and find what you need to find. This isn't a massive open world game we're dealing with, even though it covers many areas. Has numerous interesting locations, such as the Tooth Academy, where you're being taught by gremlins, which I thought was kind of cool. Um, the costumes and the variety that they have certainly add something to it, but at the same time, it's hampered by the fact that it requires you to experiment with the costumes yourself. It won't guide your way, and in many ways, I can hear a lot of people who sort of often basing sort of the indie scene saying, you know, this is what games should be like. They shouldn't be hand holding as much as perhaps I expect them to be. But yeah, I can see this game appealing to younger audiences or young, free-spirited gamers, but probably not a game I'll be rushing back to. It was fun while it lasted. It threw some interesting ideas out. I mean, would you like to see a
Interesting.
Costume Quest 3?
I mean, I wouldn't be opposed to playing it for sure. I mean, honestly, right now, I kind of want to go back to play Costume Quest and see if I can find it.
Yeah.
The deal is like when you're making a comparison between this and Song of the Deep, it's a little hard to compare in the sense that I would have a definite answer that Costume Quest 2, hands down, I would go back to play it. Hands down, okay? There is no debate on my end.
Yeah,
Because
but
I played this game in the morning. There was one day the first day I played this game. I played 5 hours of it over the day. It was on a Saturday, so I work normally. So I didn't just sit around and play 5 hours of games. I woke up in the morning at 7, I think, and then I was like, oh, I gotta play this game. We're doing the recording soon, you know? So I was like, picked up the game, played 2.5 hours, didn't even see the time go by. Went back in the afternoon, played another hour, didn't see the time go by. And then I went back at night and I played another 2.5 hours or 3, and I didn't see the time go by. And that's the thing with this game is it's so lighthearted that you don't really feel it. It's just so cute. You just like kind of gush at the adorableness of it. And I think that's where I stand on this right now. Is why I like it so much is that I didn't feel the time go by. Song of the Deep was like this grueling experience. I was like every single second was like, oh my god, can this end now? You know?
yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'm just too much of a cold, callous gamer. I've been spent too long in the
You're
realms of
missing your
GTA.
battlefield strong stuff. You know, like the heavy battles, heavy gameplay. I
Oh
think that
yeah,
that's what we're,
but
you know.
basically, when I played this, I just then had to like go off and play like a little GTA and just go around just like punching things, just like play the GTA version of Costume Quest. We just like go up and to like and ask people for candy, and then when they don't look at you confused, just punch them. um, yeah, that's the GTA version of Costume Quest. I think that's the version we want to see. You just go around just breaking things. I think
Definitely for you. I'm starting to feel like my co-host is turning a little aggressive
I
from
think
all our game choices.
this is what Rockstar need to get onto. Now they've obviously released their biker download. The next one should be in time for Halloween. Just have more costume packs so you can dress as a giant candy corn. That's what I want to do now in GTA. Just dress as a candy corn and just
Okay, so we should make a request on behalf of Game Warp Podcast that to Rockstar
yeah.
and tell them that that's what we want to see. And maybe
Yeah.
they won't make it for this time, but they can make it for next year.
Okay. Yeah. Go onto Rockstar Twitter feed and do hashtag give me candy corn. Hashtag Game Warp says. Come on. Let's start a revolution right here in the bin. We're taking to them. Let Rockstar know what we want, which is obviously giant people dressed as giant candy corn. But
Halloween costumes, okay? Even if it's not candy corn. Halloween costumes. We need some of those.
I have to say, yeah, it's nice to see a Halloween taken back to its innocent roots. Because now, when we think of Halloween, we just the way it's been corrupted and whatnot. It's nice to see a Halloween game which has got that sort of Halloween innocence. So I would give it that. But
I agree with you on that. I like this innocent path we're taking. Like I said, I like the change of pace of what we're doing. You know, if you guys want hardcore horror reviews, we did Oxenfree before, we did Limbo, we did Inside. You can head back and check those out. You know, and I'm sure like we'll be covering a few horror games on that moment in podcast at our home base. But for now, this wraps up this episode. Thanks so much for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, please like, share, subscribe, and comment. We'd love to hear your feedback and recommendations. Head over to our home base, thatmomentin.com, to read more gaming reviews and news bits. To get gaming news and releases every single day, follow us on Twitter and like us on Facebook at Game Warp Podcasts. To catch our episode on the go, you can find us on SoundCloud, iTunes, and Podomatic, and also Satchel. So we'll see you next time. Bye.